Hello everyone, just want to talk to you about the character I've been running in POE2 lately. It's been a complete support build for party play. It is a curse, block, aura, shock, and magic find bot essentially. Used to love playing bot characters in POE1 and wanted something similar in POE2. And since I only had one or two other people to play with, I needed something that could kind of be more generalized. It's not great at any one thing, but it does a lot for the team lineup. So I was just going to do a quick overview here. Looking at gear, we have just a Omen Scepter. This just getting Spirit to run our auras, damage, attack speed, and I like the Presence Area of Effect. It's a great mod. You could also get flat damage and other things depending on our cast speed if you'd prefer that, depending on who you're playing with. I prefer the Omen Scepter for the level 18 Malice. It's good to just have running around, just adding a little bit of base crit to everything. Helmet, nothing special, just a rarity and life, mana. The life roll actually doesn't matter, but it's as much energy shield as you can get, and then mana and rarity. We'll talk more about Magic Find in a second. For your shield, I go with the allies in your presence have block chance equal to your shield, which is unique from the merit of service. I got a lucky corruption on this one to give me a base 42% block chance, which saved me a lot of points in the passive tree. This is really great. There's another YouTuber that has a total block bot build that kind of inspired me to kind of go in that direction, and this is like just a fantastic shield. Our armor, we get the Warrior Invictus for rarity and spirit. This cost me half a divine, I think. I don't know how much they go for now, but not bad. So it's just kind of all about stacking rarity and spirit. And then on that line, I run the Grave Binds to allow myself to be a Magic Find Caller, essentially. This allows enemies around me to be killed, counted as me, so my Magic Find goes towards their drop rates. You could definitely swap these out for a rare pair of gloves that give you far more tankiness and shore up your defenses in other spots. I just choose to run these. For the most part, it doesn't. I rarely ever die, but these are a great pickup. For my boots, just a rare again for the movement speed, mana, energy shield, and resistances. As much as you can get for the budget that you have. These were like 5 exalts, maybe a little bit more than that. I think I slammed the energy shield. I forget exactly, but yeah. Anyhow, not expensive, very doable. My 2 rings. One is a breach ring with just rarity and mana, a little bit of fire resistance to shore up my resistance that I needed. But the big thing here was mana, just to kind of, we are taking mind over matter, so we want to get our mana pool as big as possible. Our amulet, again, spirit, rarity, attributes, just kind of the basic stuff, nothing fancy. This was maybe half a divine. This ring here, this allows us to run 3 curses. This is a corrupted. I got very lucky again with another corruption on this, but you can buy these rings for fairly cheap and then corrupt them and try to get as high as resistance as you can. And then belt, again, this I just took as much mana and attributes and resistance as I could afford. The other 2 big modifiers were mana recovery from flasks. I really wanted that to be as much as possible, so that way I could get my mana back, because I didn't have money for the unique flask, so I just went with this simple mana flask. And then our life flask is whatever, it doesn't do anything, I just kept it there. And the charm I just use to grant immunity to freezing, because I just don't want to get frozen when I blink into enemies. So that's the basics of the gear. It's just resistances, as much energy shield as you can, and yeah, magic find and mana. On the passive tree side of things, we are running as a sorceress. This allows us to pick up this strike twice, which gives 2 shocks, 2 instances of shock, which is absolutely insane for damage. I'll show you later. And the other main one that I pick up is Scouring Winds to double the effect of my exposure, essentially. This is amazing for damage for our allies, whether it be fire, cold, or lightning exposure. You can easily swap around some stuff and do any of the 3, or do a little bit of each. I then also took the Arcane Surge and the Arcane Surge effect just to have a little bit extra more mana and a little bit more cast speed and mana regen, just as a quality of life thing. On the passive tree, it's just very just spread around, picking up energy shield where we can, and then a lot of curse effect, shock magnitude, and a little bit of block chance down here. So you notice I had, right now I'm sitting at 72% block chance, which is also given to all of my allies in my presence, which is pretty amazing. You could obviously push this higher if that's what you want to do, but with that shield I have and this little bit of block here, as well as this little bit of block up here, I get up to 72%, and I feel like that has been more than enough to benefit, along with everything else that my character does. The other big nodes to take are up here for the increased overexposure, for increased exposure effect. Obviously, more effect on my curses, additional curse, more mana. I go Chaos Inoculation because it makes gearing so much easier. If you can sacrifice a little stuff to get Chaos Resistance on your gear and get your Chaos Resistance decently high, I think it's overall more HP, essential, like effective HP if you don't take this, because you lose quite a bit of health. But I decided to take that just to make gearing a little bit easier. On our jewels, real quick, we just basically try to get as much magnitude of shock or magnitude of ailment, and then as well as like other things I like effective auras is great for our curses and everything else. Here we just have energy shield and mana regeneration rate. All of these jewels were like 10 exalts or less. Like they're very cheap. This is the spot you could really dump a lot of currency into and get a lot more bang for your buck. Up here, again, more magnitude. So trying to keep this short, but just basically just taking as many jewel sockets and a lot of travel on the tree. But that's kind of, we're just here not to do damage. We're here to buff our allies. Lastly, so we talked about block. We have curses. We're running 3 curses and a blasphemy setup with 20% quality. Again, these are all level 19 only. This is 6 link. This is the only 6 link in the build. Not required. It just allows to have magnitude effect for a little bit more area. I still think that the blasphemy area of effect is sadly just tiny for what this game is. It's like whatever, but it covers a decent chunk. I would say a good like 2/3 of your screen, but it's like for the investment, I just feel like they need to buff this. But regardless, I run Enfeeble, Temp Chains, and then 1 of 3 Elemental. I have a Conductivity. You could do Flammability. Again, this build is so kind of like great for many things. The only thing it doesn't excel at is either chaos damage or physical damage. You could absolutely do those. You could run Vulnerability or Despair instead of an Elemental Curse. You will lose out on the like exposure stuff. You would maybe rework the build a little bit for that if you're running with people that only do straight fizz or straight chaos damage. But every other part of the build is fantastic. The main crux of the build, like the main thing that like what it is a shock bot that you just throw out ball lightning and then warp to with lightning warp. This drops this giant area of shocked ground, giant sort of ish. Good size, let's say. Good size area of shocked ground, which applies an 81% shock magnitude shock twice. So each enemy has 162% more damage taken from this shocked area. And it lasts a good long time. You can just zip in and out. You know, I have blink just to kind of blink out of dangerous zones, but this just allows you, and this shock is super magnified, and as long as they're in this area, they're shocked. It doesn't matter if shock duration, none of that stuff matters. So with that in mind, I have Unleash just to kind of add more area to it and a little bit extra cast speed, sort of. I use Lightning Exposure to apply lightning exposure to them when they're in that shocked area. It doesn't, yeah, as long as they're shocked, which they always are in the area, they have lightning exposure on them. And I have Overcharge to increase the magnitude and Strip Away to make the exposure more effective. I think my exposure gets up to, it'll be in the thumbnail, but I think it's something like 72% exposure, which is wild. And again, this we can swap into anything else. If I go and running with people with fire damage, I swap into my Solar Orb with fire exposure, put that in there. Same, and if you have people that do cold damage, just put a Frost Bomb in there with the same thing, and you'll get that same 72% on whichever skill you put this into. And even without that, it's like 50-something%, still extremely high. level of exposure. I have a Bone Storm and a Flame Wall just to add extra damage for people. In my Ball Lightning, just acceleration for more projectile speed, and Scatter Shot and Arcane Tempo. Simple, just try to get that stuff out there as much. In Malice, I'm just running Clarity and Persistence. Persistence, again, not really useful that much, but it's whatever. It's a little bit quality of life. Clarity just helps keep our mana regen up. And then I use Eye of Winter as well to just kind of stack critical weakness on enemies for my allies to give them better base crit. Blink with Ingenuity. Definitely could use an upgrade here. I don't know. I haven't played this game a ton, so the best I can come up with is that. Grim Feast, because it's overpowered and it's ridiculous while mapping. It gives you basically, we're sitting usually around 3,100 to 3,200 energy shield all the time. It's definitely with as much block as we have and as much survivability as we have, and we're not necessarily with the slowing of the enemies with the curses. We rarely get hit. You will get beat down sometimes, and if you teleport into a giant pack and you can't blink out. But for the most part, we are pretty tanky, especially for the budget. And yeah, last but not least, just the Magic Find. It's just a couple pieces of gear. It's all good. And yeah, so I've kind of been running B-roll in the back of this video, like in the, to talk about, like, see some of the stats. Again, this is like definitely a room for improvement. It is a great fundamental start to a build. It's been a lot of fun to play. It's great to just like see enemies that are taking a little bit of damage and you hit them with that double shock plus exposure and they just get melted away. And it's fun to play a build that you're not like competing for damage with other people. You're just kind of there to help support them and just, yeah, enjoy playing POE with others. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, just put a comment down below, and hope you enjoy the build. Thanks so much.